Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar by Richard C. Myers, Aaron Alfeche, and other people here. Obviously, those familiar with the Jawbreakers format that Richard C. Myers publishes, you can basically get one major story with a bunch of extra side stories, which I actually enjoy. It's actually a pretty good format in my opinion. This cover is by Kyle Ritter. You guys probably remember from Starblades, and also he does a lot of the coloring for Ethan Van Sciver on a lot of his stuff. It's cover's okay. I mean, it's definitely exciting in a sense, with a lot of the coloring effects that Kyle Ritter is known for. Actually, the characters have a lot more personality than some of his other characters in previous outings, from those who remember my other videos. But anyway, I want to go to the back of this and just talk about something. So here it is, there where nothing has a cost but everything has a price. Once every century, the Grand Bazaar appears. Inside, anything can be found, haggled over, traded, or bartered. There's only one rule: you cannot use currency or credit to acquire that which you desire. Nothing has a cost but everything has a price. The five men who will eventually form the Jawbreakers each find themselves in the Grand Bazaar for very different reasons, but they end up banding together for survival. Contains three stories: Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar, the origin of the Jawbreakers, Jawbreakers Sacred Blood, and Nexus, right? But I do want to mention right here the origin of the Jawbreakers, because the biggest problem with this book, and I'm just going to get it out of the way right here, is it is advertised as an origin story with no origins whatsoever. If you wanted to know what are the origins of the Jawbreakers, all this book basically does is show you the first appearance of all of the characters that comprise the Jawbreakers, or at least of the books that we know here. Since those of you who don't realize this, spoiler alert, most of the Jawbreakers are dead by the end of God King, which apparently Zach is going to try to change with his new $1 Jawbreakers Forever book, but whatever. The point being is this book fundamentally fails to be an origin of anything other than the first appearance of these characters together. So I guess by the 90s definition, like the shitty 90s, first appearance bullshit definition, then this book is an origin story. But if you actually came in here thinking you were going to get an origin of like, oh, who's Cuffs? Spoiler alert, you're not going to get an origin of Cuffs or Silkworm or Devil Dog, though to be fair, there was an origin story of Devil Dog of a sort in God King, or Knife Hands or Hell Priest or Kill Switch. You're not getting any of that. So right there and then, if that's what you wanted with this book and you're looking for a review to see how it stacks up, spoiler alert, it's not an origin story. What it is a hot mess. It is a tire fire of a Richard C. Myers story. But let's just get into it right here. That's the review, quick and dirty. This book is just another Richard C. Myers unedited kind of hot mess. So, the Aaron Alfeche art is fine. I think overall I like it, though I think Aaron Alfeche, one of his weaknesses, I will say, is that his skulls and his basically his anatomy and the way he does men especially gets very repetitive, and there's not a lot of differences between his male characters, like anatomically. So if you look at his art enough, a lot of characters start looking the same with just different little small features to kind of differentiate them. And my only level of criticism to Aaron is he might want to consider kind of switching up how he does the way he does facial structures and whatnot, to kind of clean it up a little bit, because a lot of these characters basically look the same with the features, right? It's kind of reliant on character designs for him. But it's really a small flaw for the art overall. His art is still pretty good, but at this point, I don't think anyone is really here looking for great Jawbreakers art. I think Richard kind of has a good feel for getting good artists to work this book. I think the big problem here is the story, and he knows it's the story. And if there was ever a book for him to get an editor, it would have been this book, being it's an origin story. And I don't feel this was touched by any editor. I'm almost certain that this was just a stream of conscious that came out of Richard C. Myers, and he just spewed it out onto a Google Docs, and sent it over to, Eric Weathers and Aaron Alfeche and said, good luck, guys. Anyway, let's get into it. And here's the spoiler review. Basically, we're in Afghanistan. Two cheese dicks hear something, which there's no sound effects for in the lettering here, but hey, it's Silkworm, and here's Kill Switch, and spoiler alert, they're still assholes in Afghanistan, and he's kind of doing, I guess, odd jobs for the government. In the middle of these odd jobs, he's being a dick on base to a lot of the other people here, which then gets him to conflict with this Sergeant Schneider. Eventually this becomes important, but the quick and dirty here is Silkworm comes across as kind of a dickhead in this scene, and Schneider kind of tells him off as like, wow, you're an overpaid a-hole. On the outside, we get this introduction of these demons who have very, her dialogue is very weird, by the way. I'm just going to move this over here. Yeah, her way of speaking is basically kind of a rip-off of Yoda. It's like, displaced words and other stuff, like a speech impediment. And it's probably sounded really good in Zach's head, Richard C. Myers, the writer. But it turns out it reads very bad, and it just becomes an annoyance every time you get to her actually speaking. But anyway, let's jump into it. So Kill Switch takes Silkworm over to here, where we get introduced to the Dirt Dragons, which this is basically a wasted scene. I actually have no idea why this scene exists in the book, other than to get Silkworm onto a plane. Because basically what happens here is we're assumed via context to think that the Dirt Dragons are really, really bad people because of the way that Silkworm reacts here. And then this all leads into a scene where Silkworm basically murders all of the Dirt Dragons. And we're expected to not feel sorry for them and realize that, Silkworm is such a hard dude, But anyway, while Silkworm gets arrested, he manages to hear a radio report of the Sergeant Snyder from before, apparently in trouble, but he gets put on a plane, which, by the way, happens to be flying over said area where the radio report was, I guess, received. And then he jumps out of the airplane without a parachute, uses his Silkworm powers. Oh, by the way, if you wanted answers for why people have their powers or where their powers are from or how their powers exactly work, the answer from Richard C. Myers is go fuck yourself, because you're not going to get an answer in this book. And I don't know why you continue to spend money on this book to get answers. You're not going to get him. He's not going to listen to an editor, and he's not going to give you an answer. That's the answer. Congratulations. Anyway, he falls on this Arabic dude who is speaking. This is a really dumb idea. Every time I go past it, I'm like, oh my god, this is retarded. So this is, let me show you this. This is, whoopsie. Let me see if it gets it there. This is in Arabic, like actual Arabic lettering. And then the caption box is the phonetic English, or English phonetic translation of the Arabic. So it's not even in actual English for you to actually understand what the hell's going on here. It's just the phonetic Arabic right here. Which, again, first off, why did Eric Weathers even put the effort into putting the Arabic letters in here? My guess is Eric was like, well, every check from Zach clears, so I guess I will do this. Really dumb idea. And also, Zach, why would you even put a caption with the phonetic translation of the Arabic? Why didn't you just put the English translation of what this guy is saying in Arabic. So, you know, the rest of us normal people who don't know Arabic and aren't going to take a picture of this and Google Translate it can understand what the hell is going on here. You know, but, you know, whatever. These dudes get murdered by a silkworm who flies in, and here's Cuffs like, oh, hey, what's up, dude? Because apparently these guys already knew each other from before. So apparently there's an origin story of Silkworm and Cuffs from before, because this isn't their actual origin story. They just happen to be in this story together. So do we even know what their relationship is? No, we actually don't. We really don't. Because everything, remember, all the Jawbreaker stories is like afterwards, after this whole book. So we actually still don't really know much about Cuffs or Silkworm other than what you're seeing there. So anyway, he jumps into this thing, which hasn't actually been explained. There's just a bunch of, I guess, you know, Kentaro Miura type demons everywhere. I don't know. Anyway, here's Devil Dog, and he's escorting apparently Osama bin Laden, who then 1 page later he proceeds to murder and piss off these CIA guys, who he then betrays the CIA, and now he's a fugitive or something. I don't know. This whole scene really didn't make any sense, so we're just gonna go with it, which is pretty much 90% of what your boy Zach, Richard C. Myers, does anyway, so whatever. Anyway, so what happens next is Silkworm ends up trying to get information, and he doesn't trade for any of the information. He just asks for it, and then this guy loses his shit, says free trader. Silkworm gets electrocuted. He ends up in the Coliseum, where him and Cuffs fight to the death, which after some really cool art, Cuffs basically suplexes him to death, except he doesn't kill him because plot armor and really bad Richard C. Meyer writing. So anyway, they managed to get out of the death match without both of them dying. Because. So we jump over to Devil Dog. He ends up getting saved by this chick called Valverde. And then, you know, one really bad gay joke later, they end up teaming up. They run into that free trader dude that screwed over Silkworm. Managed to get him to get this soul crystal thingy, and then he proceeds to 300 kick him into a bottomless pit. I like how the word art here is yeet. Very, very apropos, Zach. Anyway, so miraculously, Silkworm is recovered because the plot demands him to be recovered. And then they proceed to find out that the demons, or at least some of the demons within the Grand Bazaar, are actually the soldiers that Silkworm is looking for. And they also happen to find the one dude that Cuffs, apparently, the reason why he's even here is for, which is Knife Hands, which means Cuffs knew Knife Hands before this book, which means there's an origin story of Cuffs and Knife Hands, which we don't get here because... What, you thought this was an origin story? Shut up. Stop asking questions. So, Cuffs ends up rescuing Knife Hands, who then proceeds to literally murder a dude. So I'm glad to see Knife Hands is still an asshole. Like, I like how the solution to all of this, by the way, is the Jawbreakers getting brought back after a story like this. I feel like this whole story right here is actually a very good reason why the Jawbreakers shouldn't be brought back. Because if you look at them, they're just murdering a-holes. So why do we even care? Like, I think Richard C. Myers doesn't understand that he has a team of superheroes that aren't heroes. So why even call them superheroes? You might as well just call them super assholes. But, so here's a convoy with Hell Priest and Killswitch heading over to the Grand Bazaar, which is very convenient. Why is Hell Priest here? I don't know, because he understands underworld stuff or something like that. So apparently the Osama from before isn't the real Osama. It's apparently this dude. So the Jawbreakers can't get the job done, so we're going to call in SEAL Team 6. No, we're not. We're gonna continue with this horrible comic book, which all these guys get under attack, and then there's a bunch of really shitty movie references. They all get out, and then they get confronted with this weird demon lady who is basically super powerful and overpowers even Silkworm, who himself is like such a freaking plot anomaly, you know. But yeah, this is a weird piece of art. Just now I'm like looking at it like this is kind of funky. But anyway, she's going to like basically destroy all of them, and she gets stopped by Hell Priest, who we find out her name is Mistress Azaz or whatever it is, and she gets stopped by him asking her out on a date, which she agrees to, and then she saves all the soldiers, and then this soldier right here, Sergeant Snyder, thanks Silkworm for saving him with some really cheesy one-liners, and then Killswitch congratulates Silkworm for a nice work and to get his team ready for the next job, which is like my team, which is these bunch of a-holes that Zach proceeds killed off in the previous book. But anyway, we get to the date where Azaz does her weird Yoda speech at the Parliament, and she then reveals that she made Hell Priest to be very strong, which kind of leads to the deduction that she would probably be, just looking into the future, she's probably what's going to revive the Jawbreakers, would be my bet. Again, I don't really care. I'm not even going to pay $1 for Jawbreakers Forever, just because I'm not. This whole series is a hot mess, and I don't think, you know, I'm going to be honest, there's not enough wood in the Home Depot to fix this shit. This shit is so fucked up, it's not even funny, right? But some side notes about it, since it's a book with 2 more stories. Sacred Blood by Marco Canella is actually very, very good. I actually did enjoy this story a lot. Might even do a video separate on it, just because I like the dude's art and I like the dude's writing, and he did the art and the writing, which is probably why this was the best book in all of it. Yeah, by the way, he has a good feel for dialogue flow and caption flow, something that Zach is like really lacks. Other thing was a Nexus side story, and this story was actually pretty decent too. Nothing like crazy decent, because it was a fairly short story. It's only like 8 or so pages, but it's pretty cool stuff. And I think most of this is Mike Barron as well, because the writing feels a lot cleaner and nicer. So I'm gonna say, you know, this is probably, the idea was from Richard C. Meyer, and the writing is from Mike Barron. So, which is probably what would be the future, in my opinion, of Richard C. Meyer, right? I think what this book has proven to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that Richard C. Meyer, your boy Zach, really doesn't cut it as a writer, but he does come up with a lot of good ideas, and I think he has an excellent eye for talent. So I think as a producer and a publisher, I think Richard C. Meyer's, you know, his Splato Comics probably has a future in that regard. Him writing stuff, I'm gonna be honest, I actually think Richard C. Myers is a better artist than a writer. Like, just from what I've seen. I actually feel bad for him that he doesn't like his art, or he doesn't really want to do it or practice it much, because I always thought that his art was pretty decent for what it was. But, you know, whatever. He doesn't want to do it. So, yeah. Am I going to buy any more of these? No. This is probably one of the last Jawbreakers reviews I do, unless it's someone other than Richard C. Myers writing it. But, yeah. Do not recommend. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments on Jawbreakers Grand Bazaar, leave it down below. And I will see you next time.